Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco, and here with my co-host Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
I just finished editing our Mystery of the Batwoman episode, and what's so funny about that, Marco, is according to that timeline, Bruce went for his adopted son's ex-girlfriend. And neither of us brought that up.
Oh my god. Wait, what?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Because Barbara Gordon and
hmm
Dick Grayson, they
hmm
kissy. And then they're just like, okay. And like I had to bring that up because Bruce is a lot of things, but a
hmm
bastard he is not. I can imagine a world in which he kills every single Robin before I can imagine a world in which he would fuck his son's ex, you know? And
Yeah.
I feel like that makes me even, like, more madder at that movie.
That's wild. I didn't even think about that. Like, that didn't even cross my mind.
I
Wow.
hope that affects your official ranking of that
it,
movie.
it will, it will. Um, yeah, Batman canon is weird, I guess.
That Batman canon is weird. I don't know what your other Batman canon's totally normal. That one, I don't know what the writers at the end of that timeline were doing, but they
What
were
about
on
Batman
something.
Beyond? Isn't it hinted at that Batman and
It's
Barbara
not
were
hinted
also?
at. Barbara literally talks to the guy and is like, "Yeah, me and Bruce were a thing."
I totally forgot about that. That's wild. Anyways, today we're continuing our Batman animated movie marathon, and today we're talking about the Batman versus Dracula. And pay attention to the in the title because this falls in line with the Batman the animated series, not Batman the animated series. So yeah, let's just get into it.
Well, before we do, let's do some background history. So this film was released October of 2005, direct to DVD, of course. It was a month after the second season of the show it's based on that you just said, The Batman. I'm pretty sure this isn't canon with the show, so technically you don't have to watch the show. But personally, I would say you should at least watch the first season to acclimate to its universe. I do think the show is really good in general. If you want to see a new Batman and a new Gotham, you should definitely watch the first two seasons. If you like the Bat family, watch the next two seasons. If you like your Batman show being sidelined for the JLA, watch the last season. But yeah, you don't really need to do any homework before you technically have to watch this movie, but I do recommend you do a little bit. Okay, so the summary. Prison break. After successfully escaping Arkham Asylum, the Penguin accidentally awakens the sleeping Dracula. The Count stalks the streets of Gotham, gathering a gaggle of minions, but the Batman is hot on his trail. After finding a cure, the Bat finally smokes the Prince of Darkness.
So I actually haven't watched the Batman the animated series since I was like in middle school, but when some of the soundtracks started playing in this movie, I got like huge nostalgia. Like I automatically knew where this soundtrack was from, and it just like came to me randomly. I was like, wow, this sounds really familiar. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have watched this show before. What's your opinion on the Batman's take on the Joker? I'm really curious on what you have to say.
Oh my god, it's so funny that you asked me that question because I was gonna ask you what your thoughts are on a black Joker. Because Joker's black in this. And I don't just say that because his voice actor is black. He has dreads. Let's be serious.
I actually really like this Joker. I like how chaotic he is. I don't like the fact that he's not wearing shoes at all. That's really nasty, stinky, gross. Did you mention something about his hair?
Yeah, he definitely has dreads.
Yeah, I thought that too. I wasn't sure though because like the way it's animated, I guess it's just didn't give me that vibe that much. But at the same time, I could kind of see it. What was your thoughts on the Joker?
You know, if you watch the cartoon, they change the look of like literally every single villain for better or for worse. They also sort of like change the storyline or like the backstory for some of the character villains. But I think that the two villains we see in this film, the Joker and the Penguin, are actually two characters that I really like. The changes that were made with them. It's crazy that they were able to make Joker somehow more like he was a little bit more chaotic, he was a little bit more goofy, and just it sort of his personality made me wanna side with him more, I guess. Like, he seemed, like, not friendly in a way, but, like, chaotic in a way in which you see it and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of a good time. I'll watch from afar." Sorta like that. So, I really liked this version of the Joker. What were your thoughts on, The Penguin literally being the Ice King.
What do you mean?
The
Like, he
Penguin?
doesn't have ice powers, does he?
No. But you know the Ice King from Adventure Time. First of
Yeah.
all, same voice actor. Second of all,
Really?
yes, they're literally Marco. It's literally copy paste. Like it is the same voice. He did not change anything at all when he started doing the Ice King.
Oh my god, I didn't realize that, but now that you said that, it makes I can connect the dots. I'm curious, what changes did they make to the penguin? Because he seems the same to me in this movie.
Just his vibe in general, I feel like what I've seen before in other things, he's much more evil, I guess, not so goofy. In this, he's really pathetic in this world. He really is someone you look at and you're like, "Oh, anyway."
I feel like the
So
penguin is always like that, though.
not that I've seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, speaking of the Joker, what were the differences with him exactly? Because was he still, like, thrown in, like, a vat of acid or something like
Oh,
that? Or
there was nothing different about him from what I'm aware. Also,
okay.
I don't even think we know the Joker's backstory. I just think
Yeah, good
he's
point.
insane.
Yeah. Speaking of the Joker, I was actually surprised that they killed off the Joker because I feel like if they were going to kill him off, it should have been like more grand or emotionally impactful. It just kind of happened, in my opinion, when the death happened for the Joker. I was like, okay, is that it?
I sort of feel like that death was very fitting of him because he died messing with Batman. And I feel like that's the way he wants to go out is to die in a way that he knows will affect Batman.
I also found it interesting that if he actually died, if that had been his fault most of the time, because of he messed up and forgot to turn that thing off, which I personally find funny. Oh yeah, but then they just like made it seem like he wasn't dead at all, and I was like, really? Like I wasn't disappointed. I guess I was a little disappointed to be honest, but I kind of had the feeling that he would come back because that death to me just didn't feel like I guess as grand as a Joker death should be. Okay, so there was this really lame scene in the movie where when Dracula crashes the party, Bruce figures out that he's Dracula, because Dracula said his name backwards, and then the way Bruce shows what he's learned to the audience is so overdramatic. Like he just writes down Dracula backwards and like shows it to the camera, I guess, or the mirror, and it's like, oh my god, he's Dracula. Wow. I don't know. It was just kind of overdone. And I felt like they could have used more subtlety.
The way that he did it as well was so funny because like he literally like stole someone's lipstick and then
Yeah.
like grabbed a giant plate that someone was using and he just walked away. Dude, but it's something that is so something he would do. He is so dramatic.
Yeah, good point. The scene where the vampire Joker fights Batman is such a good scene. The part where the Joker is shunned being showered over with blood was so crazy, and I'm surprised they actually allowed that in this movie, considering it's like, I guess, PG-13. Well, I don't know ratings, but I don't know how much blood or stuff they can allow in whatever rating the movie was in. But yeah, I was just really surprised that happened, and it looked really cool as well. Yeah, I just liked how crazy the Joker looked, and I also liked how the Joker was so distracted that Batman was able to capture him because of that. Oh, speaking of things I was surprised about when it came to like violence, I was surprised that there were actual guns in this movie. Because the Batman the Animated Series, they had guns, but they weren't like actual guns with real bullets. They were like these like lasers, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. I saw a video about it, and I it just looked like they weren't guns. They would look weird. It looked like a sci-fi concept of a gun. But yeah, I was actually surprised when they showed real guns in this movie. Okay, so I have a huge question for this movie. How come the Joker is still somewhat in control once he becomes a vampire? He can still talk like a regular person, but all the other vampires can't. They seem like they're completely under control of Dracula. It just makes no sense, and I wish we would have gone like at least an explanation for why the Joker is still in control.
I'm just gonna say it's because he's insane, you know?
Yeah, I would have also really liked it if instead of making the vampires all mindless, they could have had it where like some are mindless and some are actually in control of themselves, or they could have all of them be in control of themselves. I feel like it would have made the movie a lot more interesting if they were fighting like actual people who were vampires but were still people. The Penguin was so lame in this movie, like any other villain could have done this plot and it would have been like way better. I really like the ending for Dracula and Dracula's death. though it felt like a bit too coincidental. Like it was a bit too lucky for Batman to just have that sun machine in the Batcave, like right behind him while he was fighting Dracula.
He referenced creating a machine that like harnessed the sun's power or whatever, like
Mhm.
during the gala. But like the whole thing of him building that in the first place was very convenient.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, the whole sequence of how the penguin wakes Dracula up is so ridiculous. It made me laugh. Like, he just conveniently cut his hand while opening the coffin, and he just so happened to shake his bleeding fist over the dried corpse of him, and a drop just so happened to fall directly onto his heart. Like, this is some straight up cheesy rom com setups.
You know what they could have just done? Instead of like doing the whole blood thing, they could have just had it so when he opened the coffin, like Dracula woke up or something, or was awakened, instead of having like the whole blood thing. Because it made it seem like really convenient. Yeah,
I think because Dracula died, I don't know like vampire lore, but I think that like because I don't think he technically died though because then he'd just be ash. Whatever happened to
yeah,
him, I feel like he needed blood. But I feel like
yeah. Okay, that's a
I
fair
just feel like
argument.
the way the way that it happened was so ridiculous. So when Batman was like, "I lost Joker, I'm not going to lose anyone else." First of all, gay. He said that as if he lost a lover, and that's all I'll say. At this point of the 5 animated Batman films we've watched, including this one, Bruce has had a romantic partner in 3 of them, which is like it's so gross. It's honestly so disgusting that they're allowing these sinful heterosexual relationships in cartoons. I mean, it's gonna turn my nieces straight. We really should do something about this, honestly. Dracula making his fake name literally be his real name but backwards. Something about that when he said it and I realized what it was, I it literally made me laugh and clap my hands like a toddler watching Coco Melon because something about that just really entertained me and I don't know why.
So the writing your name backwards reminds me of something I've like written in middle school, like for one of my like short stories or something. Like it gives off
Yeah.
middle school new writer vibes. Like, oh, I need to find a way to like create this mysterious like name for this character. I know, just do the name but backwards. Duh. You know?
Exactly, exactly. Also, the fact that the police were so quick to hear one eyewitness and wholeheartedly accuse Batman is actually very accurate. So, I really like the first fight between Batman and Dracula because I do love seeing Batman get his ass handed to him. This is something I established in our Mask of Phantasm review, and I love that we get to see another fight scene like that in this one. Also, okay, they bring up the girl boss vampire, Carmilla, as Dracula's wife, but I thought that bitch was gay. Like,
I was gonna
I
say
thought
that. Yeah, I thought
yes,
she was lesbian.
yes, I thought she was a whole ass sexy, seductive, femme for femme lesbian. So when they were like, "Yeah, his wife, Carmilla," I was like, what we're not gonna do is we're not gonna make some weird homoerotic relationship between the Joker and the Batman, and then make, like, a notoriously gay vampire straight? That was, like, so strange to me.
It felt like they just needed a female vampire, and they were like, "Oh my god, we can't find any good ones." I know. How about this lesbian?
I guess Limp Pickens or whatever, but that was so insane. Batman gives the Joker his own blood, and the Joker says you completely like, he's messing with him, of course, but it's still a little fruity. I feel like they made the Penguin creepier than he is in the show. I watched the whole show last year, and I don't remember him being this creepy. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember it being that. Like, he tried to corner the reporter, I forgot her name, but it was so creepy, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna bite you." I was like, "What is going on here?"
Speaking of which, remember when Dracula first mentioned finding a bride, he was looking at a picture of the reporter, and I'm pretty sure the penguin said, "Nice jugulars."
Oh, yeah. He was like, "Oh, you pick 'em good." Like
Yeah, it was so weird.
and the whole last fight sequence with Batman and Dracula, it was convenient, yes. It was also fun. The fighting in general was nice in this film because of just how fluid it was. Like, the animation was really great. I don't think either of us have pointed that out, but like the animation is really good in this.
Oh, one last thing. I really like how Alfred helped fight Dracula during the last battle. Overall, I think this is a decent movie. It does have its flaws. I didn't talk about this, but it does have like kind of weird pacing sometimes. And the fact that they made a lesbian vampire Dracula's bride was really strange. The Penguin wasn't the best. Obviously, the Penguin is like one of the worst Batman villains, in my opinion. So I wasn't surprised when he was terrible in this movie. Mal looks surprised. Like, what? Do you not like the Penguin? Do you like the Penguin? I mean,
I don't think he's the worst Batman villain.
okay, which one do you think is the worst? I said one of the worst,
um,
not the worst.
one of the worst Batman villains. I don't fucking know.
Think
I
about
don't
that, and
know.
then get on it next time we record,
All
and
right,
tell
next
me which
time
one you think is the worst Batman villain.
I will.
Um, I did like the fight scenes. I feel like some of Dracula's motives didn't make quite much sense, especially when he was looking for a bride. Like at first, he made it seem like he was going to get with the reporter, but then we find out he's actually just using the reporter to revive his wife. And something about that didn't connect in my brain. Like it didn't make sense. Like he seemed like he was really interested in the reporter because he talked about how like the reporter's name was really interesting to him and how this reporter was full of mysteries, but we never get back to that. And instead we just go to, okay, now we're going to revive Dracula's wife. So yeah, if there's a critique I have, that's definitely one of them. But overall, I think this is a decent movie. Like I like the Joker a lot, especially when he was a vampire. I don't really like the romance, but like the fight scenes, the animation, the plot overall was really good. So yeah.
Yeah, this was a fun crossover between The Dark Knight and The Prince of Darkness. And I think just in general, this film was a breath of fresh air. This is the first Batman film we got outside of the DCAU with a very different style in general. I think the only thing I had an issue with for this film is the same issue I have with the show, which is the like excessive amount of electric guitar. You know what I'm talking about though, right?
Yeah, I guess, but I
Yeah.
personally enjoyed it.
I don't it's just it happens so much though. Like probably every like 20 seconds you just hear the electric guitar. And something about I don't know, the repetitiveness of it really irritates my brain. But other than that, I really like this film. Okay, rankings? Have we ranked it?
Okay, out of S through F, what would you rank this and why?
For now, I'm going to rank this a B. This might go higher depending on the other Batman films. I've watched most of them, but I really can't remember any of them. I know there's a lot that I hate, but I don't know. For now, I'm putting it at a safe B. I think that this definitely, in my opinion, is the second best Batman film we've watched so far.
I'm surprised you actually gave this a B. I was expecting a C, to be honest.
What?
I don't know. You just
I think I
seem
ranked it high because the last two films we watched I really hated.
personally. I would also give this a B. I feel like Batman Beyond the Joker Returns is definitely better than this, and I also think Mask of Phantasm is definitely better than this. Don't judge me. Batman versus Dracula is definitely like below the Return of the Joker because it's definitely below the Return of the Joker. I just feel like there's a lot more to like about the Return of the Joker, and I liked the way they used the Joker in Return of the Joker. And while I do like the way they use the Joker in Batman versus Dracula, I still don't really love the plot hole when it came to Dracula's wife. I feel like the pacing could have been better, but I think the action, the characters, they're really good, and it's a solid movie. So that's why I'm giving it a B.
Hey Marco, why does no one like Dracula?
Why?
'Cause he's a pain in the neck.
Why? Did you come up with that yourself?
No, I googled it, of course. Um,
Okay.
but you know what's not a pain in the neck? Thinking of ways to transition to the Mediocre Minute. What's the Mediocre Minute, you may be asking? Well, this is a tiny little micro moment where me and Marco recommend books, comics, music, games, and more for you all to check out. Now, I could have recommended the spin-off comic series, The Batman Strikes, but I wanted to keep the theme, so my recommendation is DC vs. Vampires. Have you ever wanted to see a teenage superhero be blended to death? What about a good old classic Bat family fight? How about plot twist after plot twist after oh, yes?
Blended to death?
Yeah.
What?
Someone gets blended to death.
What?
Yeah.
I
The
need
deaths
to
are
know.
very oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Look, you know what? I actually think it happens in the first issue.
Really?
Yes.
What
Um,
what an interesting way to start a comic series.
yeah, it really set the tone. But, you know, if you're interested in it, Marco, and if any of you guys are interested in what I just said, I got good news for you. This is a 12-part comic series that has all that and more. Now, I did know one of the biggest twists in this series before reading it, which, in my opinion, actually made the series more suspenseful because I was just on edge waiting for it to happen. But overall, this was such an interesting series because they really do just be killing superheroes and villains in the most Mortal Kombat fatality ways possible. My only two issues are one, the last plot twist doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why Barba would do that unless this is all a part of her plan, which I don't think it is, but maybe it is. I don't know. I'm a little confused. And two, it leaves on a cliffhanger. Part 2 is coming out this year, I think, but if you hate cliffhangers, keep that in mind. Marco, what is your recommendation?
So my recommendation is a book series called the Wayward Children series, but the first book is called Every Heart a Doorway. I have recommended this to Mel. We were going to do a video on it. We're still doing that video on it, but they chose to read something else. But the Wayward Children series is about these group of children who, it's basically a portal fantasy. They go into like different worlds through portals, and sometimes they stay there for the rest of their lives, or most likely they'll be kicked out of that world, and they'll have some psychological issues because they just lost like their favorite place to go, because usually the doorways either make the person one love that place and they go to a specific place if they love where they went, or they hate it and they go to another like home if they hate it. Basically it's about them like learning how to live after these portals. And in the first book there's a murder mystery, and it's about the main character like wanting to go back to the portal world that she originally went to. Yeah, it's really interesting. I love the fantasy concepts. I read the first two books so far. I definitely like the second book better. Anyways, that's my recommendation. Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on the Batman versus Dracula. If you want to send us a voice message on Spotify for podcasters, the link in the description to do so below. We also have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads, which are at MidTakesPod. And that's everything. So goodbye.
So